Welcome everybody. Today I'm so happy to have Jules Galloway here. She runs the Shiny Healthy You program, which takes women like you and me from fatigued to fabulous in 12 weeks, which sounds pretty good to me. She is on a mission to introduce as many people as she can to a new way of eating and living. So she wants to bust through all of the old nutrition myths and misinformation and teach us a fresh approach to choosing the right foods. So she would like to take the fear and boredom out of gluten, dairy and sugar-free diets, which also sounds awesome to me. Welcome, Jules.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
So great to have you. So what would you say, Jules, is one of the biggest or most common problems that your clients who are mothers come to you with?
It's absolutely 100%, I would have to say, a lack of energy and poor energy levels, sometimes even bordering on fatigue, sometimes even going down the path of adrenal fatigue or chronic fatigue. But it's overwhelming how much that comes up over and over again. I've been a naturopath for over 10 years now, and I just went out there with the idea that I would just, hang out the shingle and see who comes, really. So whether I've done that as an in-person clinic, and I've done it as a website now with an online business, but the feedback was still the same. It seems to be overwhelmingly women aged around 35 to 45 or 50, and they've usually got one or two kids. Those kids are usually at a point now where they're just starting school or, just off to kindy at least, but it's right. Usually the kids are in primary school and mum has just gone, hey, this is great. I've got a bit more time on my hands now, and they've got nothing. They've got nothing left. And they actually say to me, I had more energy when, little Johnny was a toddler.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. He's off to school now and I've got less energy, but I've got all this time on my hands, and what's going on? And
so why would you say that occurs, Jules?
I think we hold out as women for as long as we can, and we do the job that needs to be done, when it presents itself. And then as soon as we have an opportunity to rest, that's when our bodies tend to crash, because we run on adrenaline for so long that when we stop, that's when we get sick. And it's a bit like those busy people, and I'm sure you all know a busy person like this who is just work, and then as soon as they take their one holiday a year, they're sitting on a sun lounger on Hamilton Island or sitting on the beach on Fiji or something, and that's when they get the flu. And they're like,
I hear that all the time.
Weeks. Yeah, and it's just, it's just a bigger, wider version of that. So I think we push ourselves for such a long time. And then when we finally have an opportunity to stop and come up for air, that's when our bodies say, hey, we need to get sick first before we can get well.
So do you think we get warning signs while we're in that busy stage doing what we need to do and we ignore them? Or do you think that we don't necessarily even see the warning signs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We definitely get warning signs. Our bodies are designed to give us warning signs as we go along. But in the earlier stages, it's just really easy to stomp all over those warning signs and go, no, not now, not now, not now.
Yeah.
And we can cover it up with eating sugar so that we get a bit of false energy.
Yeah.
We might cover it up with caffeine. We might go from having one coffee a day to having 2 or 3, maybe more than that. And we cover it up with wine at the end of the night when we can't sleep, all those sorts of things. We cover it up by doing things that humans do, and that's fine. But we need to take a bit of a step and zoom out sometimes and go, are we covering up warning signs that we should be listening to? Am I having this glass of wine because it's nice and I'm having it sitting next to my partner on the couch and we're relaxing and talking? Or am I having this glass of wine because I feel crap?
Yeah. So what do you suggest as a tip for being a bit more present when, I think a lot of us are running around like far too much and for far too long, and perhaps not seeing those warning signs as warning signs?
Yeah, I think There's so many different ways to bring ourselves back into our bodies and be present, but definitely stopping the multitasking is a really, really important one, and we're all guilty of it. And I'm guilty of it. Like if I shared my screen now, you'd see I had like a bunch of tabs open, and my brain is no different to that. And so many women are like that. And we're always thinking about all the different things, but it's how are you ever going to listen to your body if you've already got like 10 tabs open in your mind about all these other things? So the first thing we need to do is shut down some of those tabs and be mindful in what we're doing, whether we're making dinner or whether we're driving the car or whether we're talking to a friend on the phone, whatever it is for you. The very, very first step to getting back into your body is just doing one thing at a time and being really mindful about it. And that way, when your body starts to speak to you by maybe throwing up some symptoms or, giving you some of these messages that the body does, you will actually notice them and you'll see them for what they are.
Beautiful. That's really great advice. I really love that analogy too, because it really strikes a chord, having too many tabs open.
Yeah.
I love that analogy.
And just because you can open them all up doesn't mean that you're going to be any more effective in dealing with them all either. Like studies and research time and time again have now shown that women are really good at multitasking, but the more things we try and do at once, the less effective we are at each and every one of those things. So if you're giving one thing 100%, and you have two things going on in your mind, you're not going to give those two things 100%. You don't have that to give. So each time you add an extra task or an extra thing to think about or an extra browser tab, what you're doing is actually becoming less effective at all the other things you're trying to do. So I know it feels like it's going to take longer to get things done if you do it more mindfully, but you will find that you become more present and more effective at those things. So you'll actually be more productive.
That's really good advice. And so when you're just personally, Jules, when you're juggling lots of different things, you do slow down, turn off a couple of tabs and get back into your body so that you can do one thing?
Yep, absolutely. And I'll even get up out of my chair because I spend a lot of time at my laptop because I do have my blog and I run 2 websites and, I'm on I run a Facebook group and a Facebook page and I've always got stuff going on. But the first thing I do is shut down a couple of tabs, shut down Facebook, shut down the things that are going to be distracting. And I actually get out of the seat.
Yep.
And I walk around. I might jump up and down. I might even have a dance break.
Yes.
But anything, even 5 minutes of yoga will reset your brain and get you back into your body before you get back into whatever you are doing. You don't have to do an hour and a half of some sort of meditation or yoga or mindfulness practice in order to bring yourself back into your body. It can be as simple as just a few minutes. And whatever it is for you, like go for a walk around the block, go hug your dog, whatever it is for you is fine. But I find anything that increases the circulation out to the hands and the feet, so a bit of jumping up and down or a bit of yoga, a bit of stretching is really, really helpful. And it just seems to click the brain back in and then I sit back down again and everything flows much more easily.
Beautiful tip. I do a lot of meditation. That's what keeps me sane. And I call like my 5-minute power meditation like a power nap, And I just sit for 5 minutes. I mean, I probably should move a little bit more than what I actually do. But, just sitting for 5 minutes, it's amazing how recharged and refreshed I can feel.
Yeah. And the thing that I think we all need to remember is it's better than nothing. 5 minutes is so much better than nothing. 2 minutes is so much better than nothing. And I'm the world's worst meditator. Like I used to go weekly to these beautiful Buddhist centres when I was living in Melbourne and all these different types of meditation centres. I've been to them all and it was, I felt like I was the only person sitting there who was mentally going through my shopping list while everyone else was meditating. But what mattered is that I kept trying. And now I will still try. And even if I can squeeze out 30 seconds of good rock solid meditation, I feel like I'm winning because it's better than nothing. And, sitting for 5 to 10 minutes and actually meditating for 20 or 30 seconds is more therapeutic than you'll ever imagine. Like, even that is just such a massive step in the right direction. So I think the most important thing to do is to keep trying and to congratulate yourselves on these teeny tiny little wins, rather than beat yourself up about the fact that everyone else is doing it better than you.
Right. And
because they might not be better.
It always seems like everyone else is doing it better. I agree. And I think I think in general we beat ourselves up for not doing it properly, or not doing it right, or not being effective enough, and then I particularly hate those places where everyone shares their experience and they've all had these amazing experiences, and I'm in my head going, oh, that wasn't my experience at all.
Yes, and how did that feel for you?
You know what? I fell asleep. It felt great.
Yeah, and you like feel like you should make something up, but it's like, I'm not going to make something up.
I have made stuff up. I don't anymore, but when I was beginning, I did. Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, like you're going to get cast out if you don't tell them that you did it.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's true.
Yeah, it's not a competition, people.
Exactly. So just going into, I'm really interested in the work that you do with women and fatigue. And, you know, you've alerted me to, I have upped my coffee intake, and I do drink wine of an evening, because that's honestly when I feel my most tired, and I have to cook dinner and get the kids' readers happening. And so what else could I do instead of, you know, those crutches really?
Yeah. In Shiny Healthy You, we go into this a lot in detail, and I really try to get people to zoom back out and look at why the coffee intake's gone up and why the wine intake, or whatever it is for you, has gone up. And I often find that the coffee, for example, sliding into sort of bad habits, for want of a better word, it's actually not the coffee that's the problem. It's the food that's the problem that has slid. And the coffee is the pick-me-up that's compensating for the crappy food. So we talk a lot in the program about balancing your plate. And I know I don't have a lot of time to go into it here, but basically what most women will find themselves doing is eating a little bit too much sugar, a bit too much carbohydrates, and not enough protein. And they don't know how to balance their meals so that you've got the right balance of protein to carbs. And what happens from that is that if you're eating that balance, you know, that incorrect balance, say at lunchtime, and then your blood sugar will go up and you'll feel really good for a really short amount of time. But what will happen at about sort of 3:30 in the afternoon is your blood sugar will take a massive dive, and then you reach for the coffee, right? And you might be like, oh, you know, I used to only have one coffee a day at like 8 in the morning, and now I have one at 8 and one at 11 and one at 3:30. And it's not the coffee that's the problem. It's what you had for lunch that was the problem, because your sugar went up because it was too carby. Or, you know, say if you have a sandwich that doesn't have much protein in it, or a pasta salad or something, and your blood sugar goes up, and then you feel really good for a little while, but then you just crash and burn at about sort of 3 in the afternoon, 3:30 in the afternoon, and then you reach for the coffee. And people always come to me and they say, teach me how to give up coffee. I'm just going to stop coffee. And I'm like, that's really nice that you're going to stop coffee, and I'm really, you know, excited for you, and this is good. However, what are you going to do at 3:30 if you don't have the coffee, if you still feel crap? So we actually need to stop you feeling crap in the first place before we even try to take the coffee away, because that way you're not going to be in pain at 3:30. Because I guarantee you, if you try and get off the coffee, right, before fixing the problem at 3:30, you're going to hate me. You're going to freaking hate me. So we need to balance the carbohydrates and the protein, and we have to get that meal at lunchtime really balanced. And then at 3:30 in the afternoon, if you don't feel that you need a coffee, you cannot have the coffee. See?
Yes.
So it's not about the coffee.
Do you find a lot of things are habitual? Like we become creatures of habit?
Yeah.
You know, I think for myself, it goes back to the mindfulness actually, Jules. If I'm mindful, I know that I don't actually need it. necessarily, but it's like a habit.
Yeah. And, telling yourself that you don't actually need it is really nice, but sometimes we can be a bit too hard on ourselves as well and be like, come on, you don't need that. What are you doing? You're failing it. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So I would reframe it and say that rather than being creatures of habit, I think women especially are creatures of ritual. So say you drop the kids off at school, and I say this all the time because my husband's a barista in the local town.
Okay.
And we see it. You drop the kids off at school, then you go and reward yourself with the coffee for getting everything to run smoothly throughout that morning.
Yeah.
And it's like the day for them starts once they have that coffee, and their brain then clicks in and goes, okay, next task. We've done the school thing. We've been successful, smooth morning, coffee reward. Now we can do the next thing. And until they've done the ritual of the coffee, they can't move on to the next part of their day successfully. And so I think we become creatures of ritual, and so it's not so much a habit, but sometimes it's a reward, or sometimes it's just a bridge between two parts of your day, and it's often the bit where you stop. And so it's the bit where we actually get that little bit of me time, that thing that you're all meant to be having lots of. That thing. That me time.
That utopic moment.
Yes, because, we all just need to stop and have a bit of me time. That elusive thing. But it's true. It is absolutely true. It's cliched because it's true. You do need a bit of me time.
Yeah.
If at the moment it's coming in the form of your coffee break or your wine break, you start to associate those two things together, and then you feel like you can't feel good without that thing. And it's the same with sugar.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of sugar. We won't go into it too much, but I'm not into the sugar because it becomes a reward, and it becomes really linked with feeling good, and then you feel like you can't feel good without that thing. And that's where the ritual becomes, a hard habit to break.
So do you suggest people go cold turkey, or do you suggest a new ritual, so to speak?
Yeah, I think cold turkey sparks off a part in the brain that gets rebellious in some people.
Yes. I think
if you're one of those people, you'll know what I'm talking about.
And it's also like another way to flog ourselves, I find, as well. That sense of, stop now, be rigid.
Yeah. It really depends on the individual. Some people can only do things cold turkey because they're an all or nothing person.
Yep.
And their commitment to something has to just be rock solid. But some people are just like that. And I tell, I've got heaps of different clients, and I can tell you that different things work for different people. Some people will come to me and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna give up coffee, or I'm gonna give up sugar, and I'll go, okay, well, let's look at a game plan for how we're going to cut it down. They're like, nah, I'm just going to stop. Okay, more power to you. Excellent. We can work with that.
Yep.
But then other people just go, oh, I'm really, you can see the fear almost, like that like you're going to take something away from them. Please don't take away it all at once, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm more of a fan, with those people especially, of crowding out the not so good stuff by injecting all this new good stuff. So before we take away your cake in the afternoon, we need to think of something that's going to replace it in that ritual. If you have cake at 3:00, or if every time you go out with such and such a friend for coffee, you always have cake with them. Okay, we need a new ritual, and we need something that's just as cool and exciting and makes you feel happy. So it might be that we have to make some sort of raw dessert, and that's cane sugar free, and yes, it's still got natural sugars in it, but it's a really, really great step forward in the right direction. So something that's gluten, dairy and sugar free, cane sugar free would be great. Portion it up, put it in your freezer, and when that person comes over for a cuppa, you've got something there that you can get out that's like your new ritual.
Beautiful.
And so, or pick a healthier place to go out, or so it's about putting in all the good stuff, and then the not so good stuff will fall away as you replace the old rituals with new.
It also sounds like being a little bit more prepared for those moments will ensure that the good, the better rituals will just naturally flow as well.
Yeah, and doing your research as well. So, I mean, preparation type, stuff is great if you're at home, or if we're talking about kids' lunch boxes or making your lunch for work, or we're talking about, good foods for when the friends pop over, that's great. But if you're out and about, research is the key as well. Like, I'm going up to Brisbane for the weekend this weekend. I found out where I'm staying, and then I just started asking around and Googling where all the healthy places are. So I actually have a little map of where I can go for all the healthy things, so that I don't get
fantastic
stuck. Yeah, so it's about not getting caught out as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And so let's talk about yourself personally a little bit more, Jules. Tell us what you're up to at the moment.
I'm always up to a lot of different things.
I know you are.
I've just started the third round of Shiny Healthy You, so that has just kicked off.
Fantastic.
So I run that twice a year, and it's a wonderful 12-week program for women who want to go from feeling fatigued to feeling fabulous. It's a very hands-on and supportive program in that I don't just leave them be. I get in there and I help everybody out, and I give advice, and everyone's in there at the moment all excited because we're in week 1.
Yes.
That will kick off again in September this year.
Yep.
And between now and then, I will be bringing out some recipe ebooks, and I'm looking at starting a podcast. So
perfect.
Watch this space, because there's going to be a lot happening over the next few months. You can guarantee there'll always be new recipes going up on my blog, and new articles about health going up on my blog, and in particular talking about things like adrenal fatigue, women's health. I've got a special interest in a condition called pyroluria because I have it myself, so I've been talking about that a lot on the blog as well. And working a lot with women who aged around sort of 35 to 45 and just want to get back on top of things again.
Sounds beautiful. And what one piece of advice would you like to leave with all of our friends that are with us today? Or 2. You can have 2.
No, don't offer me more. Like, I'll narrow it down. It's all right. Look, I think what I've seen coming up a lot lately is people who think they have to change everything at once, and that they have to do everything at once, and they get this paralysis because they can't start until they've got all the information, and they've got all the food, and they've got all the recipes and all the support and everything. But what happens is you end up in this paralysis state where you don't start.
Yeah.
I know the wonderful Marie Forleo, because I've done B School and I'm a big fan of hers. She has this quote. She says, "Start before you're ready." And it is the most awesome piece of advice. And I used it in my business, because there's the same sort of thing. You go, oh, no, I can't start because my website doesn't look perfect, or this doesn't look perfect. And, she always says, start before you're ready. And I think you can apply that to becoming healthier as well. Just take one step forward in the right direction. Like, have a healthy breakfast tomorrow, and then you're 1/3 of the way to a healthier day. Like, you have 3 meals a day. If you just nail breakfast, you're 1/3 of your way to being healthier. So, if you just knock out like a beautiful dairy-free smoothie that's high in protein, or some eggs with some spinach and mushrooms, those sorts of things, you're 1/3 of the way to a healthy diet. And that's like a massive achievement. And if you can just nail some breakfasts, like a whole week of breakfasts in a row, you're going to feel so much better. And like I said, once you start doing that, then things like that need for coffee and sugar just start to drop away. So don't try and do everything at once, would be my piece of advice. Just do what you can with what you've got, and then just nail those little things, and then move on.
And that's great advice too, Jules, because I like how you're so positive about, nail one thing and then more. It's so common for us to think if we don't do it 100%, then we're no good at it at all.
Yeah, give yourself some small wins.
Exactly.
Like, just stop being so freaking hard on yourself. Like, do you think I always ate this well? Do you think I always eat this well?
Yes.
Like, no, like, not just because someone looks perfect on Instagram doesn't mean they are either. So it's a bit like airbrushed modeling. Like, I'm not going to eat some fish and chips and then post it on Instagram. Am I? So all I'm saying is don't get on social media and compare yourself to something that might not be 100% real either.
More great advice, because it's this world that we're living in, everything does look really perfect out there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I can tell you that it's not always that case. And sometimes it takes a lot of work to get that perfect shot. And that perfect shot will give everyone the impression that your whole day is perfect, except it was just a 5-minute window of your day. You don't know what else they're doing for the rest of the day. So just do the best you can yourself with what you've got. And, just little steps forward in the right direction are all you need to keep taking to keep moving forward.
Fantastic. Speaking of that, last night I've got this really sore toe. And I thought, because I'm, around Facebook and all of our perfect lives and everything, and I thought, how hilarious. This only went in on my mind. I didn't actually do it. But I thought, how hilarious would it be to take a picture of my sore toe and then post, I've got a really sore toe today. My life, it's not perfect over here. I've got a seriously sore toe.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know how you feel. I play roller derby, and I'm really terrible at it. I think I'm having a midlife crisis, actually, but I love it. But I tell you, sometimes, like some of those bruises you get and some of the injuries you get, I just think, I'm so tempted to just Facebook it, but I don't.
Oh, you should. We would love to see roller derby girl bruises.
Oh, they're horrific. They're horrific. But that's the thing, like, we all choose what we share on social media. We all do.
And let's be mindful of what we take in as well.
Yeah. You just stop comparing yourselves to what you think is perfect, because it might not be.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Jules. It was just such a pleasure to learn more about you. I actually didn't know you were doing roller derby. I love that.
I keep it very quiet because I'm quite terrible at it.
I don't think so.
Very, very quiet. Don't tell anyone.
Okay, it's just between you and me.
That's it.
So there's more information on the link below as to how our friends watching can be in contact with you and join the Shiny Healthy You program. And I hope we all go from fatigued to fabulous within 12 weeks with you, Jules. It was wonderful to speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.